Here's your smart fact of the day. What are the top 10 most common New Year resolutions in your mind? It's exercise more, lose weight, get organized, learn a new skill or hobby, live life to the fullest, save more money, spend less money, quit smoking, and spend more time with family and friends. Aren't human beings predictable? Welcome to Smarter with Sid. And in this episode, what we're going to look at is New Year resolutions for 2023 and how we could look at them slightly differently than what we have been doing in the past. So let's go. I haven't seen a single human being, including myself, literally fulfill out most New Year resolutions, and that has always been a perennial puzzle to me, right? So most of us tend to give up our New Year resolutions by February, and in fact, I have gone on record talking about how different my New Year resolutions are going to be for this year, 2 years in a row. And the context is that I always try to figure out where does it all go wrong. For instance, a couple of years ago, what I talked of is instead of objectives and outcomes, I'm going to focus on processes. And to be honest, I focused on processes as to the way towards doing things. And I kind of got into a groove for most of my goals and then forgot about trying to improve the process or enjoy the process and the rest of it. And to be fair to me, it was a particularly difficult year, 2021 was. But I don't think that I really lived up to my resolution of, following the process and enjoying the process. I thought I'd found a great hack at that time, and it still might be a great hack for some of us, but I don't think it was particularly useful for me as resolution type in order to crack the pattern. Because before that, what I used to always have is too many goals, too many aspirations, too many resolutions, and I used to overwhelm myself, stress myself out, and never reach them. So then that's why I'd flipped to the process side. After that, what I thought I would do is be a little more clever about resolutions and focus on just finite period of time. Just say, 3 months, split all the New Year resolutions into a quarter or maybe even lesser, and have strict timelines towards it and all of that. And while that was okay, again, it did not work too well. The reason why it didn't work too well was because life and reality seems to be going somewhere else, and my resolutions seemed to be stuck in time as life unfolded over me. In fact, I'd spoken about it in that podcast episode itself, that I think that there is a very big difference in our resolutions and how life actually happens to us. And what we realize is, life is very uncontrollable. And sure, you might call me pessimistic about resolution setting, but that's the context. And I've always wondered what to do with New Year's. Now, New Year's is a fairly artificial construct, but I guess as human beings, we love artificial constructs. I just read out the top 10 New Year resolutions, which I found off Google, right? And it just proves that we are pathetically similar as human beings. We all want the same things out of life that will make us happy. But surprisingly enough, very few of us have the discipline or the ability or the luck even to stick to our New Year resolutions and make them come true. And then this year, I started looking at goals and why not to set goals or why not to set resolutions, because I was like figuring out whether, we are going in the wrong direction when we try to set rigid and artificial goals or resolutions for us on a rigid and artificial timeline, which is Jan 1. But then having read about how even artificial timelines create real meaning for us in our heads through a lot of psychology books and through a lot of behavioral biology that I'm studying, I realized that maybe it is worth one more shot. So I must confess, I am going to try this out for one more year. And I don't know at the end of the year if it hasn't worked out again, well, I will be smarter for it, but I will certainly probably give up making New Year resolutions completely. I had done so a few years back, and I'm not sure whether those years have been better or worse for me. So, this is such a vague situation to be in. And Smarter with Sid, the whole premise of Smarter with Sid is to get smarter, at least 1% smarter with whatever we are doing. So the temptation is there to make the most out of a special day like New Year's, create that special meaning and go for it. Now, one of the things that I have certainly realized over a long period of my life is that I cannot intrinsically change myself, and nor can you. So suddenly tomorrow you are not going to be Superman. You can be 1% better, or you can go strive 1% harder, or whatever it may be, but you're not going to go for a complete personality change. So I've kept that limitation also in mind. Now, having said all of that and having set the context, now let me give you the principle, because I've had a bit of a breakthrough. Now, I might think that I've had a breakthrough like I did with the process orientation resolutions. Do have a listen to that and have a quiet chuckle if you want to. But I think here it goes, right? I'm just trying to build this theory in my mind. And to be honest, I think we should always try to develop some new theory, some new framework, and test it out and see whether it works or not, instead of just rubbishing it and pulling down our own self-worth in the process. So with laughter firmly on my side and with the backing of innumerable failures, I go venture boldly into making New Year resolutions for myself with this process. The process is this: I will want to have the best possible outcome for not more than 3 things that I want to achieve successfully in this year. So, not more than 3 things, maybe you can stretch it to 4, and you will automatically have one resolution each towards family, health, wealth, and fame or success, or whatever you can call as the fourth of it, or you can replace it by excelling in a hobby, whatever it is. So that's one. I'll go and think about the best place I can be at the end of the year. Now, that might be pie in the sky thinking, you'll say, but that's okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a review each month and try and figure out, okay, forget about having specific things that are going to help me reach there, like milestones or whatever, but what am I going to do in, say, the month of January towards these 3 or 4 things that has the best possible chance of me reaching to that goal at the end of the year. And when you ask this question, what is the best possible chance to a limited number of goals after you've figured out what the long-term goal is, it could be a game changer. Normally, what we end up doing is that we end up looking at the begin with the end in mind, as Stephen Covey says, but then we kind of make it backwards. So in November, I needed to have done this, or in October, and it gets so overwhelming. To be honest, by February or March, we are nowhere where we want to be, and we just go. But actually, life is weird, isn't it? It takes quantum leaps, and quantum leaps are like based on, it's not a linear progression towards the goal at the end of the year or the resolution at the end of the year. How about actually just revisiting towards the end of each month and figuring out like that, asking yourself, what is the best thing I can do towards reaching the goal at the end of the year? And who knows, you may have not reached anywhere till, say, October or November, but in the last month you just reached there, because it's all a quantum piece of reality. I think just a completely crazy approach, but it could work. Who knows? Again, I will be candid, I will be honest, and I will tell you how it all went down. So hang on with me about this specific resolution-oriented process. I might just win yet, and I will tell you whether I've succeeded or failed at the end of this year, and I'll tell you what my goals have been too at the end of the year, right? Till that time, they'll be secret. Why don't you try it? Try to figure out what's the best possible outcome that you could potentially have in this short life of yours. Try and figure out what you're going to do in January, and do not plan beyond that. And then at the end of the Jan thing, plan for the end of Feb. I hope you like this episode of Smarter with Sid. This is the last episode of this year, and it's been a wonderful journey with you throughout this year. And I've been very happy and privileged and lucky to have such a wonderful community supporting me in my endeavors. And if you like this podcast, do like and subscribe to this podcast immediately. And hey, if you like me, I'm the Traveling Professor on LinkedIn and on Instagram. And if you like podcasts like these, do go on to IVM Podcast. They've got some amazing stuff for you. On that happening.